January 19th, 1998, and Monday Night Raw came within a few thousand households of finally ending their ratings war drought with WCW's Monday Nitro. Front and center to that near victory was Michael Gerard Tyson, who engaged in a pull-apart kerfuffle with Austin in the program's final minute. The exiled heavyweight boxer was a media lightning rod, and his notoriety provided the kind of mainstream attention that makes the side of Vince McMahon's desk rise up. There's no official date that denotes the start of the Attitude Era, but one could surmise that WrestleMania 14 was the Attitude Era's Woodstock, a defining event that symbolized an era better than any other. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 14. Number 10. Vince McMahon reportedly loved the DX Band's performance. Chris Warren and the DX Band probably performed the least auspicious rendition of an opening WrestleMania anthem since Mean Gene sang the Star Spangled Banner in 1985 like he was busting for a piss. The fans in Boston's Fleet Center booed Warren's choppy vocals, a feeling shared by many in the locker room. Chris Warren, who passed away last June at the age of 49, recalled in a 2007 interview that despite the negative response, McMahon himself was very happy with the unorthodox performance. After all, the DX Band would go on to play out Triple H and Shawn Michaels live, and now the band had substantial heel heat by butchering America the Beautiful, ensuring that their subsequent performances, for two heel wrestlers remember, would be booed as well. Number 9. The Rock's $1 million catchphrase was born on this show. By the spring of 1998, it was apparent that the once dismissed Rocky Maivia possessed just a teensy bit of all the charisma in the world. At WrestleMania 14, Rock took part in a silly sit-down interview with Jennifer Flowers, a woman most notable for a brief affair with former US President Bill Clinton. Flowers interviewed The Rock as though he were running for office, semi-amusing at best, but then The Rock said, "Smell what I'm cooking," a punctuation for one of Rock's playfully infantile answers. It was the first time Dwayne Johnson had ever said those words on camera. Little did anyone realize just how much that innocuous, offhand phrase would play a role in launching Johnson into the stratosphere. In a bizarre twist of fate, a catchphrase born of a presidential spoof ended up being parroted by an actual president when Obama once said on camera, "Do you smell what Barack is cooking?" Number 8. Owen Hart had a leg cast removed just that day. When Triple H defeated the youngest Hart brother to win the European Championship weeks before Mania, it was in a match that lasted less than 1 minute. Hart had a prior ankle injury which was exploited by Helmsley in China. That injury was very real. Earlier in March 1998, Hart rolled his ankle while stepping off the middle rope during a match. He then worked the next night in serious pain before seeking treatment. The injury was diagnosed as a severe sprain with ligament damage, necessitating the use of a walking boot. Hart's only appearance between the injury and WrestleMania was the 52-second title loss. He wore the boot right up until WrestleMania Sunday, where he still managed to deliver a quality match because he's a Hart, and that's what they do. Number 7. Luna Vachon was told she'd be fired if Sable got hurt. After 2 years of mostly playing a mild-mannered damsel, WrestleMania 14 was going to be Sable's coming out party. She would wrestle in a mixed tag match with then-husband Mark Mero against Goldust and Luna Vachon. The veteran Vachon was being counted on to put the buxom greenhorn over like a comic book superhero. Luna would later claim in an interview that she was told that if she bruised or scratched Sable, she'd have been let go. Basically, in Vince McMahon's mind, don't damage the merchandise. Vachon also lamented that her opponent didn't want to go through the rigors of crash course training, learning to bump, all that jazz, making her job even more difficult. Vachon also said that no one took a moment to thank her for making Sable look better than she was, apart from one person, and that person was Owen Hart. Number 6. Indie workers were used as the officials in Ken Shamrock's meltdown. One of the quirks of Shamrock's character is that he was quite prone to fits of rage and doing a lovely bit of screaming. There he goes. Here's another. That's a big scream. Careful, Ken, you'll give yourself hiccups. If provoked, Kendall had a habit of bulldozing everyone in his path, and that included referees. For his reverse decision loss against The Rock at WrestleMania 14, it was decided that Shamrock would perform that exact type of volcanic outburst. When Shamrock flipped out in Boston, he was confronted by 4 men, 3 in referee attire and 1 in a dark tan suit. None of them were recognizable WWF employees, and were in fact local indie guys brought in to take Shamrock's vigorous suplexes. Earl Hebner, thanks you. Number 5. Mick Foley pitched working a death match with Terry Funk. Terry Funk had retired for the 827th time in 1997. Wouldn't you know it, his retirement didn't last long. By year's end, Funk would be bizarrely costumed under pantyhose as Chainsaw Charlie, playing Cactus Jack's Coconut's BFF. Turns out the partnership was Plan B. Foley had previously gone to McMahon in late 1997 with an idea of battling Funk in a best-of-7 deathmatch series, a callback to their famed IWA King of the Deathmatch tournament final. The 7th and deciding match would have been filmed at Funk's Double Cross Ranch in Amarillo, Texas, and inserted into the WrestleMania 14 broadcast. McMahon was intrigued by the idea at first, but as the media scrutinized WWF with the impending arrival of Mike Tyson, Vince scrapped the proposal, figuring such overly gruesome violence might be a bad look to the mainstream as well as new viewers. Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff, much more PC. Number 4. The Undertaker was prepared to confront Michaels if he tried anything funny. Old HB Shizzle had a bit of a backstage rep for being somewhat uncooperative prior to the Montreal Screwjob, and that incident did zero favors for his image. Then came WrestleMania 14, and it was time for Shaun the Sheep to take the fall and pave the way for Steve Steve Austin's time as company flag bearer. It's been noted by Jim Cornette and strongly implied by Austin himself that The Undertaker taped up his fist before Michaels' entrance and waited by the curtain. This was done to let Michaels know that if he did anything to avoid doing right by Austin and the company, he was in for a world of pain. Michaels' version of the events doesn't include the fist taping, but does admit The Undertaker made it clear that if he shenaniganed, he would receive, as the Punisher would say, a sustained and brutal beating. Number 3, it marked the end of the Winged Eagle belt. Just about every devoted wrestling fan between the ages of 26 and 53 today has fond memories of this classic belt. Yes, Vince, it's a belt. Before its design served as the fragmented template of the WWF Hardcore Championship later in 1998, although the actual bits of that belt weren't used for the Hardcore Championship, that's just a rumor, the Winged Eagle design was WWF's symbol of excellence for a full decade. Austin was the last man to win it, a shade over 10 years after Macho Man Randy Savage became the first man to capture it at WrestleMania 4. To this day, it remains perhaps the most beloved design for a WWF Championship ever, except of course Cena's spinner belt, which is sexy. I want to have sex with that belt. I have had sex with that belt. Number 2, Shawn Michaels angrily confronted Shane McMahon after the show. Michaels understood that WrestleMania 14 stood a good chance of being his swan song. His back injuries were so severe that not only would he be putting Austin over strongly, but he'd be written out of storylines to receive surgery after getting his comeuppance. Michaels was okay with losing and was on board with Mike Tyson drilling him after the match, but he drew the line at letting Tyson drape an Austin 316 over his unconscious face. Michaels thought it was overkill and refused, but Tyson carried on with the act anyway. Michaels stormed backstage, making a ruckus while Vince, Tyson and Austin were in a press conference. Shane saw this and asked what Michaels was doing, to which a hostile Michaels exploded at him about the t-shirt incident, saying he deserved better after all he'd done for the company. And number 1, it was the largest North American gate in 6 years. WWF sold out Boston's Fleet Center with more than $1 million at the gate. That number seems paltry today, especially as WrestleManias 29 through 32 each topped 10 million in ticket sales, but in 1998, more than $1 million for a non-stadium show was something totes mental copters. In a bit of symbolism, WrestleMania 14's large take at the box office was the largest for a North American wrestling show since WrestleMania 8 in 1992, and that was a stadium show. It took the company 6 years to fight from underneath a series of scandals and an anemic roster, but with WrestleMania 14, so began the biggest boom in wrestling history. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here, and you can follow Justin Henry, the guy who wrote these articles, on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.
We're never going to stop doing magazines called wrestling. It's time for issue 4, the first magazine of 2017. And to celebrate, we're looking back on the wrestling year that was, including end-of-year awards for best and worst matches of 2016, best and worst wrestlers of 2016, best and worst feuds, and many more. Also, a gigantic career retrospective on AJ Styles, Dixie Carter's crimes against wrestling, and how WWE should have booked the road to WrestleMania 2016, written by this sexual Catherine Wheel. As ever, the magazine is available now to order at shop.whatculture.com. For the love of God, buy it.